You want me to stay off camera?
Yeah. A little smooth groove. What do I say? Knowledge is love. Here we go today. Tonight, I got my sister, we both did the NDEs and we got a story, Let's share. Lay down your hair. Want you to know I got the savoir faire. Aquarius season. Can't you see? And I got an Aquarius lady here with me live tonight. And here we go. Knowledge is love. Let's start the show. What's up, y'all? Want to give you a little different flavor and a smooth groove. Welcome to my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And tonight on episode 296, I have an amazing friend and returning guest. She is an author of more than one book, so we'll learn about it. She is the co-founder of the Ascension Institute, which I am also a member of, and just so honored and excited. We'll hear about that. And she is an NDE, near-death experiencer survivor. And she's got a powerful story. I introduce to you tonight, Miss L. Serumaga. How are you, L?
Hi, Eric. Nice to see you again. Amazing freestyle. How'd you come up with that?
Oh, listen, that's what I do, just off the top of the head, and just have fun. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
That's what it's about, right? Being your true, authentic self and vibrating from your heart. And this has been me from the beginning. And
Mhm.
so that takes me to you as the Aquarius, who you are very authentic in your own right. And I want to know, in terms of all that you are now, was this something that Elle could have imagined when she was a young girl, like 10, 11, 12 years old?
No, actually, that's funny you mention all of that now because I was reflecting on that just recently and was even asked the question about authenticity. There was a family member recently who passed away,
Mm,
and um, her funeral was kind of like I wasn't super close to her, but remembered her fondly in regards to just very kind spirit and different things.
yeah.
And so my aunt, she asked me, so what do you think now in regards to mortality? Because
Mm,
you think about just kind of making amends with different people and different things or what have you. And she says she thinks about that. That's why she lets a lot of things go. And I said, well, for me, it was about being authentic. I
mm,
remember thinking to myself after I got out of the hospital, after my NDE experience, the fact that I was alive, and thinking back, what if I had died? There were things that would have been left unsaid. There
mm.
were, lots of unresolved things, and then, lots of things where people would have thought I felt one way, but I actually felt another way. And
Ah,
and they would have never known me, and I would have never, ever had a chance to ever tell them again. Even if we met in another life, we wouldn't have recognized each other. So, to me, it's not so much about getting along with everyone all the time. It's not so much about righting wrongs or people that you need to not affiliate with because for example, they might not resonate with your soul. So
yeah.
it's not about all of that. It's about being the authentic you and being able to, when you die, say, well, I might have felt this way and that person may have felt that way, but you know what? I wasn't fake. I was real. I
Amen.
was authentic. I did not smile in your face and then turn around and, whatever.
Yeah.
It's about being authentic, and authenticity generates energy. It's actually it generates, magnetic energy,
Yeah.
and when we put that out, we attract other things that are authentic, and I have a weird bag of friends, but they're all including you,
And we're all authentically weird.
we're all authentically weird,
I
you
love
know?
that.
Even the ones that are not supposed to be, like the Virgos.
Well, listen, I will be proud to say I am a pretty particular weird Virgo. And you know
Mhm.
what? A lot of Virgos are weird in their own way. They may not, and the funny thing is, a lot of Virgos don't think they're weird. They think they're normal, but because it's the most common sign. But
Mhm,
you are an Aquarius and
mhm,
you are the most rare sign.
mhm.
So, that in itself is pretty interesting in our yin yang tonight. So I want you to get into that because for me, Al, a lot of my audience knows, and we'll get to the chat in a little bit. My wonderful wife will be reading the chat tonight, you guys, and definitely say hello. And as we get to the ND, I know you're going to have a lot of questions for Elle, so please ask away. But I myself went through coma and almost died in 2021 for 40 days. I'm still 3 years later integrating and healing. And
Mhm,
you've given me a lot of insight about the other side in terms of what you've learned in your journey because I didn't know anything about NDEs until I actually had one myself. Didn't know
mhm.
anything about it.
Yeah,
So,
same here.
yeah, so I want to ask you, share with us your NDE story, but also what you've learned from it.
Okay. So, what happened was that in 2015, I was not feeling well, but I thought it was something a little bit milder than what it actually was. And I was about to take a vacation to go see family
Mm,
with my daughter, and I wasn't sure if I should just stay back and rest or if I should still go. So I asked my daughter, "Hey, what do you think?" And mind you, of course, my daughter was only 9 years old, but she's, you know, just, intuitive. You know her anyway.
ahead of our time, yeah.
So, I asked her and she said, "No, I think we should still go." If I had not have gone still, then I might not be here because
Mm.
I would not have had the, infrastructure and support system to help with all of that. So, anyhow, we went. I was just kind of managing, getting through, and ultimately had to go to the ER. When I got there, I was admitted, and they actually thought initially that I had what you had
Mm.
before, which was valley fever. Yeah.
Wow.
And then they thought it was something else, which neither of those two were correct. But ultimately, I had an allergic reaction to a medicine,
Oh, wow.
and I started to have what's called, I started to have renal failure, and I started to perpetually have respiratory issues, and I was induced in a coma to take pressure off of my body, and I was in the coma for 2.5 months, and during that time, I went in and out of my body,
Mm.
and some of the times I went out of my body were like, I don't know if you experience this, but when you go out of your body, you just kind of go. You don't really like you're here and then all of a sudden you're there. So, you step out and you don't even know you're stepping out of your physical body. For
How
example.
but let
Oh,
me ask you this, so this don't mean to interrupt, but this I
no,
wanna
go ahead.
clarify for the audience, right? So, when they induced the coma for you,
Mhm.
how conscious and aware were you? And were you able to sign papers, or did family
Oh,
members
no.
maybe make these decisions?
No,
Okay,
no, I was completely
you were out.
yeah, I was completely out, and, so much so that, so after I'll go back, but after I started to crash, and then I survived, and then got out of the hospital, or woke up in the hospital, I still didn't know that something had been wrong. I
Mm.
didn't know that I was sick, and I remember seeing the whiteboard where they write down the nurse and the date and everything, and I looked at it, and I said my family was in the room, and I said, "Stop playing tricks." And, my daughter and a couple other family members were saying, "No, that's the right date." And I was saying, "Come on, stop it." And, my daughter was like, "No, mommy, that's the actual date. You've been in a coma." They were telling me, "You've been in a coma for 2.5 months and you almost died."
Wow.
And then, like, it kind of it took me a minute, and then I just started crying and
Mm.
crying because I didn't like, I where I was before and where I was now, it just felt like it didn't feel like there was a gap in time or a separation.
Right, right, right.
It was just like that was life as well. So what do you mean, like, all of this that was, you know,
Yeah.
not this life,
So I love that you said that. So no, I want to hold on, jump on that word.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is that was life as well, because I
Yes.
know that was for me. So when they induced coma, and for me, I fell in coma, but either way, with the coma experience, everything just continued on in another realm or dimension for you, right? You
Yes.
didn't see darkness. You went
No.
places, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I knew I was in another dimension because I was told I was in another dimension,
Oh,
but 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 it seems normal, like, your mind automatically just expands, like, you immediately and when you die, you don't go from, "Oh, I'm alive," at least if you die if you're
yeah,
peaceful and at peace with it, unless there's a situation you're confused, and that's a whole 'nother story. But
yeah.
anyway, when you're accepting of the situation, you just think, "Okay, this is how it is. I can do that." There was a limitation here, but that limitation is now gone. That's how things are. You just continue on. And, it feels more real, honestly, on the other side than it does here. Everything here seems kind of two-dimensional, but everything there has depth and, like, you speak with your mind and, telepathy, and you have, like, words and sounds have feeling. Frequency is a real thing. We're all frequency. You feel the frequency of your frequency, as opposed to here, it gets drowned out by all of our technology, our life, everything else.
Mm.
So that's why things seem more real there. And, I traveled, in and out, and I went to so many different places, but I don't wanna ramble, I'll let you.
No, 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 no. Okay, okay. So I think this is fascinating. And Hunter, I want to have Alana address everybody in the chat. If you guys have any questions, we're going to get back to her story, but you guys chime in and stuff like that. And want to.
Hello. Well, so far there's really not any questions. I think everybody is mesmerized. I know I'm sitting here going, "What?"
And who's
So
here?
Danny is here.
Hey,
Hey,
Danny.
Danny, and Anton Thomas, and
Okay.
Hey,
Clarity,
Anton.
and
Hey,
that's a new
Anton.
name
And
to me.
Clarity. Welcome,
And
you new people.
Julie, I
Hi,
think you're
Julie.
new too. And all of them are just saying it's exciting. Greetings, hello. Everybody's just sitting here. There's more people watching than have commented, but
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is fascinating, Elle, because
Mhm,
what you said, that I didn't get to experience that, and I think
mhm,
it's because I fell into coma,
mhm,
and so I everything continued, there was no darkness, but I didn't know that what I was experiencing wasn't just real life.
mhm,
I thought everything was just like, exactly what was going on, and then I
mhm,
and then I can remember consciously trying to put the puzzles together.
mhm,
So my question to you is, um, one, I want to hear about some of the places where you
mhm,
traveled to.
mhm.
I think we may have gone to some of similar places. I can't remember exactly, but so I want to know where you traveled to,
Mhm,
but Who or what did you see in these
Okay.
other dimensions?
Yeah, I'll start with my favorite one or one of my favorite ones. So, I had 3 guides. One was male. He I honestly feel like he was a Pleiadian because he was
Mm,
Caucasian, but his skin was so, uh, white
mm,
that it was, I and he didn't seem humanish. He was, there were some extra special things about him,
okay.
and he spoke to me telepathically. He took me to space. So when I went to space, I just kind of he would say merge, and then I would merge out of where I was and merge into another experience. And so when I
Oh,
went to space, I was just floating and looking back on it because after just kind of like you, after the experience, I went back and I, like, analyzed everything, and I sat on it, and I did not talk much about it for 7 years.
wow. Yeah, I
So,
totally get it, right? Because
yeah,
you gotta
because it's a
figure
lot.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like and it's crazy, and I was like, "If I share this, I sound totally crazy," you know? And also, I didn't know how to rectify some of the things. I say that I got, like, an experience soup, so I got a bunch of experiences, but no context,
Mm,
and some of the things I think, I forgot, but some of the things I remember. So, anyway, I went to space, and I was floating, and I saw a nebula, and it was beautiful.
mm,
Everything seemed so peaceful, and I did not for once think, what's going on? Why am I in space? Where's my oxygen?
mm,
And how am I able to do this? I was just floating. And I looked down and I didn't see my body. And then I heard you're an orb. And then I was so delighted. And I thought, wow, cool. This is what orbs are. And when I see an orb, there's a whole human in there. And I got it, I understood,
yeah.
and that's what my guide was doing. Things that I had questions about, my guide, the way that I was being taught was not being told. He would say, like, maybe a few words, but then I would hear, like, merge, and then I would actually live the experience
Mm,
in order to learn about the experience. So, he took me to a planet. And at in that planet, I was able to view, a different alien species, and they had very translucent skin, and
okay.
they had, like, aura that glowed underneath
Mm,
their skin, and I don't know, um, if it's like, if it was a genetic thing or if it was like a mood ring or but they all had different, from time to time,
wow.
you just see this aura glow.
Think they could have been from like Sirius or Orion or something, or
Maybe, I don't know.
wow.
But I got the impression that it wasn't too far away from our solar system.
Mm,
So, and they had a city as well. So I was kind of watching them go about their day, and there were buildings there, everything. And, he was just telling me there are ETs, other intelligent life, and, here is, one of the groups. I didn't get an impression that I maybe had some origination in with the group.
right.
Um, uh, if I was told, I don't recall that, but yeah, so that was one of the things, and when I was there, I was a bit deformed,
Mm,
like, I was told it was because I was a different frequency, and it was hard for me to rectify that because of how I saw, how I looked, but then I remember when, the only time that I felt a little bit more at peace about that, because you know how you go back and you remember different things and you're
oh
like,
yeah.
"Hmm, why was that way?" And, you cling to some of the things that you learned and you saw. In Phoenix where those people had 2 ETs in their backyard
Yeah.
last year. So they said that when they were walking, I saw another thing that said when they were walking, they were kind of like glitching, like, like there was like a frequency glitch, and
Mm.
like they weren't able to move the same way in our gravity. That's exactly what was happening with me there. And
Oh, and
so,
could you see your body glitching like that?
yeah, I could see
Okay.
my,
Okay.
it wasn't like the body glitching, it was more the movement that was glitching, like,
Mm.
like it doesn't match with the gravity and energy of here. It was a different density. So,
Wow.
it was different.
That's
So,
that's heavy. Go ahead.
yeah, so that was one of the times. Another time I was told to merge was when I was being taught that all living things are conscious.
Mm.
So, in order for me to know that, he told me telepathically that all living beings are conscious, and then merge with a tree. I kept hearing merge with a tree, and then I'd merge with a lily, and then I merged with a fish. And I didn't just act like L acting like a fish or L acting like a lily. I actually was like, I lost myself
Mm.
and, my particular, the way that I think, and I actually thought from their perspective. So I got a chance to
Wow.
think and actually be that thing, and it kinda brings me to tears sometimes
No, that's heavy, Elle. Like, wow.
because, you know, um, I learned, and this was in 2015. So in 2015, when all of this happened, I'm processing all of this after the fact and overanalyzing everything, okay? I'm being told, or I was told then that trees were conscious and they actually, the reason why they're like that, why they're still, is because they have evolved to the point they don't need to go fend after food, fend after water, you know, uh, connect, and that they're already, their mycelial connections are already there with all of their community, all the other trees.
Mm.
So they're so spiritually and emotionally evolved. They live off of the wind and the sun. That is their food. They provide, they're givers, but they're also conscious beings. They know about us. They see us as though we are like their little cousins or their little brothers and sisters.
Children or
Yeah.
something.
And they care about us, but they also feel like, man, those poor humans, if they only knew their power, that type of thing.
Right, right.
They also forgive us for how we treat them because they realize our ignorance and that
Mm.
we still have to evolve. But I'm going to reference, when I say this, I acknowledge that there are other spiritual texts that are equally great. I'm going to say something from the Bible because um, I can reference that more easily. There's a scripture that says, "Be still and know that I am God." That's what we're supposed to do, but
Mhm.
the trees do that automatically.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the type of evolution that we're supposed to have in our frequency, is to get to the point where we can be still and we can just acknowledge things around us and let things happen around us and not have any fear, have complete love. And then I think it was in 2023 or 2024, all of a sudden I start seeing, like, I follow science articles. All of a sudden I start seeing scientists have confirmed that trees have consciousness. They have ocular vision, the same that we have in our eye. They have over their entire body. They
Wow.
can tell the color of somebody's, shirt. And then the tree challenge came out where people were like, we're seeing that trees respond. So little things started happening after my NDE that I started realizing the information that I got was telling me these things were true or these things were going to come out. So then I had to go back and look at
Yeah.
what the experiences I had and see that this wasn't just an experience soup just thrown at me with no context. Some of these things were prophetic, not only in my life, but in the world, but also giving me information about, the planet and the way that we're supposed to exist.
Wow.
So that's kind of, you know,
No,
the
that's
short version, believe
no,
it
but
or
that's
not.
so beautiful and heavy and awesome. And we're
Mhm,
gonna get to you guys in the chat in a second. But
mhm.
you said a mouthful there, and what's so fascinating to me is the integration period. Um, were you able to open up and share to any family members, to your daughter, to a good girlfriend, to anyone, to make you feel less um, alone or less, mentally kind of like having to toggle all this in your own head?
My daughter is the only one that I
Okay.
could share with that fully understood, embraced everything. I did share with a few other people, but I would either get crickets or or I would get like, "Oh, well, that's nice,"
Yeah,
and, things like that, and,
I've been there.
yeah, and that's because, like, some of I shared with some people in my friend and family group, some were very fundamentally religious,
Yeah.
and couldn't wrap their heads around the fact I did see Jesus in my, NDE,
Oh, okay.
in his light body, but they couldn't fathom the whole aspect of dimensions, the fact that hell is not a place, it's a vibration and a frequency, and you put yourself there. You're not put there, you put yourself there based on whether or not you act as a high vibrational person or a low vibrational person.
Mm,
So that demolishing the concept of punishment and
yeah.
things like that.
Yes.
We don't live our lives to be punished. We live our lives, we go through correction so that we can continue to evolve as souls. So it's like fundamentally that was opposite, I saw ETs. Some of my fundamental, religious family doesn't even believe in ETs.
Yeah.
I have another family member who is completely atheist. And, and he was
So you got the whole
just
spectrum
like
covered.
right, exactly. I had the whole spectrum covered. So, the only person that I could really talk to and embrace everything was my daughter because,
Ah,
I raised her.
yeah.
She's, open-minded and she's, has experiences of her own.
Was she able to give you, in her listening and understanding, was she able to kind of help you in a way heal, but even reflect back any insights? Because I know, how spiritual and scientific she is.
Mhm.
Like, how did that interplay in the integration and the healing process for you with your daughter?
That's a really good question, and yes, she helped me to heal, um, and I helped her as well, we helped each other,
Yeah.
but, it was more the conversations and the fact that she was the only one that was telling everybody that I was gonna live, just so that your audience knows the
Ah,
state that I was in.
so most people gave up on you.
Yeah, pretty much, understandably,
Right.
because all of my organs were shutting down, so I
Mm.
had complete organ failure. I was when I was on, the life support machine, there's, the part that does the lungs, that pumps the lungs for you. It fills with foam, and that's all CO2 that comes out of your lungs. lungs. My daughter told me after the fact, she's like, "Mommy, the thing was filled with pink foam all the time." That was all CO2. I later found out that my CO2 level was 214 on a chart where normal is supposed to be 35. So
Wow.
they thought that if I, by a miracle, I did survive, I was going to be in a vegetated state,
Yeah.
and that much CO2 is not survivable for the brain. And I ended up going back to school after this incident. So, you know, um, so
And
anyway,
wait, share with the audience. Aren't you in the middle of getting your PhD right now?
I'm studying to be a geneticist at the moment. So yes, and I was inspired by things that I saw and things that I was told in my NDE about how powerful our body is, how powerful our DNA is,
Oh yeah.
and how powerful we are as beings, and the origins of where we come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that because I want to hear about these origins and more about Jesus, who I
Mhm.
like to call by his real name, Yeshua.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the chat and have Alana see if any questions and who else is
Okay.
here.
Okay, so we now have Pauline Berkosha
Because
here,
hey,
and
Pauline.
I remember you, and Jackie Washington,
Hey, Jackie Washington.
and Clarity, and I, Samuel. Nice to see you.
Hey, Ivy.
And Clarity has a question. I'm sorry, how do the trees, feel when they are cut down?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Mm,
A better question. I didn't even ask that question when I of my guide, but what I do know is that they are they're sad about some of the things that we do, and they forgive us, but um, you know, they still love us and they have a lot of our history. Also, another one of the things that I was told was we have to be careful because science, in knowing that trees are conscious, you can imagine a tree that's been around for hundreds of years, then everything in science, it can be used for good or for bad.
yes.
So that we had to be careful that information would not be extracted from them, um, for negative purposes
Right.
because they have all of the information. But that's a good question, whoever asked that.
Yeah, clarity did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Mhm.
beautiful question.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I want to, kind of I too went to space. So
Mhm.
you sparked my interest with that, but for me it was not it was actually going on a ship from
Mm.
California headed towards Mars.
Mhm.
But, that was not something that we reached the destination. I can't remember the particulars why, but I
Mhm.
remember being on the ship. But so
Mhm.
for you, was there a time with your guide and the ETs and Jesus
Mhm.
that you were looking for your family? Or were you accepting of, I'm here and it's just me and this experience?
Yeah, uh, I was not looking for my family at all, but one of the 3 guides I told you about the one, but one of the guides looked like my daughter and looked just like my daughter,
Oh my God.
but barely talked, and I knew that it wasn't my daughter,
Right.
but I just kind of, like, accepted, but I was told later that, she was there, in order to kind of anchor me
Yes. That's what I was
between
thinking.
worlds and to keep me fighting, because I probably would have stayed, with how freeing the
Mm,
other dimensions are and the interesting thing is that even though it doesn't seem like it, in this reality that we're in, that freedom actually still exists, but We have so many things that are around us that create the limitations that we don't see the freedom that we have.
Amen.
And we are so incredibly powerful as human beings. But then as soon as after you have your morning coffee and step outside, you feel like a bug, you know? And the world is designed to make us feel that way. But in reality, you know, our DNA can circle the earth several times.
Yeah.
We can store information on it. We can harness power from it. We are frequencies and we can generate and create ourselves. You know, we can access other dimensions of time. We can manifest things.
Yeah.
You know, we could heal ourselves. There's so many lies that we're told on a daily basis that we stay
Every
in.
day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, so God, there's so many things that pop up as you're speaking, but I want to go back to what were the revelations and information they shared to you about the human origin story?
I was told that, well, ETs are not our gods, but that we were genetically manipulated
Yes.
and they assisted with our evolution. And it's not like the evolution story that we were all taught when
Oh,
we were
definitely
little.
not.
So it's, that's very simplified and a lot of it is wrong, even scientifically. The time it doesn't, match up.
Right.
So that's essentially what I was told, and I was told that we are hybrids of various different, ET species,
Yep.
and that's one of the reasons why our planet is beloved and, also why we're kind of like a boot camp for the soul here, because we are kind of we are the ones that are discovering who we are discovering our power. But there are progenitors that already know what our power is and are waiting for us to fully embrace our power and discover it. Um, in studying genetics, it is very controversial to say something like that. I think it's becoming maybe a little less. It's
Mm.
one of those things where so many scientists have seen so many different anomalies. And come on, we're not stupid.
Yeah.
We
Well,
realize,
don't you feel like science is always catching up to spirituality and
yes,
consciousness? Like, I
yeah,
feel like they're playing catch up all the time, but
mhm,
at the same time, they stay on this pedestal for humanity
mhm,
of scientific arrogance.
mhm,
But at the same time, they're still way behind the spiritualists or spirituality. So that's always a real deep concept to me, and just how things go back and forth, because like you said, there's the kind of good, but there
yeah,
can also be nefarious science,
mhm.
which we see with a lot of things going on with chips in the head and the hand and AI and these types of things. Did you see anything during your coma experience about artificial intelligence or about the technology of the future?
No, I didn't that's not something that I, focused on or saw.
Mm,
But I did see that there was going to be, and I started talking a lot about when I first started talking about this, what I'd been through in 2022.
mhm,
Um, I started out in sharing that this is going to sound crazy, but this was my experience. And I basically said that there are things, this, mind you, this is 2022. I
mhm,
said, there are things coming that you need to prepare your mind and your heart. You need to develop a spiritual routine. You need to go within, meditate on a
mhm.
daily basis,
Yeah.
because the things that are coming are a part of the transition from this old world into a new world. And some of it you're not going to be able to comprehend. You're going to emotionally struggle with it. You're
Mhm.
going to have to protect your mental health. And these things are coming soon. So that's what I was talking about. And of course, um, in recent years, that's been coming out more and more. And believe it or not, even though some things might feel chaotic and difficult, this is part of what we're supposed to
Yes.
experience so that we will go within ourselves and we will transform ourselves and be ready for that new, you know,
New
uh,
earth and new
new earth.
vibration and frequency. Yeah.
Mhm. And new vibration and new frequency. And it's, exercise is painful. That's why I don't do it, but I'm trying.
Oh, good.
But it's a part of the process. It's a part of what we need to do in order to, yeah, a culture and a society doesn't change collectively. It first it starts individually. So
Yeah.
when you go within and you change, then little by little, as more people are doing that, you have a new world.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Now, we have to also share with the audience you're in Aquarius with the Pisces rising. And I can't quite remember. What is your moon again?
Taurus.
That's right. And what
Mhm.
is it today? The Taurus moon.
Oh,
So
okay. I
yeah, I
didn't know
knew
that.
that's what it was. There are no accidents. Everything happens in perfect harmony. You guys, I didn't plan this, just so you know. I did not plan this, but that's okay because the universe planned this. So tell us about your connection and how you visualized or saw or experienced Jesus, Yeshua.
So that was at the very end when I was crashing, and of course, after the fact, I was asking my family, when I was telling them what happened, I think maybe the only thing that some of them resonated with was me seeing Jesus or
Of course.
"Oh, good, we've gotta make sure she saw Jesus."
Oh, you saw Jesus, then you're okay.
I'm just
You're not
kidding.
that crazy.
Yeah, so, anyway, my guide brought me into this room, and I want to comment on that.
Okay.
Again, going to the Bible, there's a scripture that says, "In my Father's house, there are many rooms." And then me with my analytical self, okay, well, I interpret rooms as dimensions, okay? But me with my analytical self,
Mhm.
and I've met other NDEers who also say they were in a room. So I was like, why is everybody always in a room? And so, but anyway, I believe that's why it's a dimensional space. Okay.
Mm.
It was very, he guided me to this place and then was standing in front of me and told me to stick out my left arm, my left hand. So I stuck out my left hand and a silver sphere appeared in my left hand. And as I was looking at it, then all of a sudden I was kind of in a place where like I didn't really care what happened. Like I wasn't resolved to a certain outcome. I was just there.
Yeah.
And when that happened, when I was kind of in that like trance, a all of a sudden a light, very bright, 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 bright light, like even brighter than the sun,
Mm.
started to make the shape of a tunnel. And I still wasn't processing, oh, this is the tunnel that everybody talks about. Oh, I'm about to die. I didn't think that way or
Oh my
anything.
gosh.
I was just looking at it like kind of like a child, like, wow, this is really neat.
Right.
Not
The
understanding.
magic of it, right?
Right, not understanding the seriousness of the situation. And then, Jesus appeared at that same time where when that light, panned around and made the tunnel, and, I saw, like, the Shroud of Turin?
Mhm.
Looked like that, except bright light. He was in a light body and was telling me that I was very beloved, that I needed to not be afraid, some other things, and then said that it wasn't my time. And
Mm.
then as soon as he said that, the light just retracted back, everything just retracted back, and that's all I remembered.
Wow.
And after that, I all I remember, that was the last thing, and, after when I was awake, where my memory stops. So I asked my family, and I was like, "This is what happened." I'm trying to, like, put the time together of when I was on the other side and they were on in this reality
Right,
of
right.
what was going on, and, they said that the doctors had felt like they exhausted everything. They
Mm.
gave me a prognosis of less than 1% chance of survival, so
Wow.
they did not expect me to survive at all.
Whew.
They were trying,
I
I
just
think
got chills because
yeah, they were trying to pacify my family. They brought up a machine called an oscillator that was used, like, old technology.
yeah.
They brought it up from the basement because it wasn't even being used.
Wow.
They told my family that, um, they were going to take me off life support. If I showed any signs of, whatever, trying to breathe, fight, whatever, then they would put me on the oscillator.
Mm.
So, um, they took me off life support, and I crashed, and then I started breathing again on my own. As
Wow.
soon as I started breathing, they put me on the oscillator to help me to continue to breathe.
Okay.
And then, just, they said that the very next day, I was 50% better.
So
So,
just by taking you off and
yeah.
then having the oscillator,
Mhm. To go from being pretty much dead
dead, yeah.
to 50% better, my mind is blown, by that.
I
Like,
I totally get it.
mhm,
That is so mind blowing. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat because
mm,
so that yeah, you whoa. Because number one, that's exactly what I felt like. Everything was rooms.
mhm,
There were times where I would be maybe outside experiencing different things, but it seemed
mhm,
like every place I was in a hospital room, a
mhm,
room in my house, a room somewhere
mhm,
else. It was rooms. But it's funny because I
mm,
hear about these lights, and
mhm,
my, coma experience was more darker and more negative.
mhm,
But the only light that I remember is when I was sitting and there was a bright white light underneath me. I
mhm,
was sort of trapped in like this, like it was like a dungeon in the back of a restaurant in Phoenix, where it was
mhm,
like all dark and these like tiki torches or like fire lights or whatever.
mhm,
And
mhm,
sitting on that light is
mhm,
when I called on God, Jesus, my mom,
mhm,
my wife, and my four sons, and I
mhm,
said it 3 times.
mhm,
God, Jesus, my wife, and
mhm,
but
mhm,
that was that only time where there was like this significant bright light, and it was underneath me.
mhm,
And I feel in speaking to you
mhm.
that do you feel like everything's kind of like a puzzle or a maze? And since you've been awakened and back on this side, you're just trying to connect everything. And some days you feel like you figured out one level, but then something new comes and you're like, oh, I didn't even think about this. How does that play out for you in terms of the conceptualizing everything?
What I think is I'm always learning, we're always learning,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to be doing that. If we're not doing that, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
I also think that dimensions and realities are stacked, and I also believe that time is not a real thing.
No.
It's, everything is happening. I mean, that's how the other side is. Everything's happening all at once, and that's why it seems like an experience soup, just a bunch of things that come at you, because they could be coming from multiple different dimensions, but they're happening all at the same time. And, I think that in this reality, we're programmed to see everything in a linear way, but there are dimensions in front of us and around us, stacked that are right, that are right here,
Yeah.
in front of us, and they're
Time's not linear, right?
right. It's
Yeah.
and there are frequencies of things happening that because we're not on the same frequency, we can't see it, but it's happening right in front of us. And those are the times where we kind of get the chills and think, "Oh, did you just feel that? Or is there somebody watching me?" It's like that type of like thing where you just feel like there's something else there's more to life than just, the present reality.
Oh yeah. Well, now let's go back to the chat. I think we have some more comments and questions.
Mhm.
So, yes, we have some good questions here. Clarity says, so what did the originals look like? And were they in human form before being genetically modified?
Oh,
The original people or the original being?
ori-
She has originals written, so I'm assuming she's meaning beings.
probably the original humans, right?
You
Clarity,
never
or
know.
yeah.
Maybe because you mentioned that we are from hybrids,
Mhm.
so maybe that's what she's referring to. Or if
Okay.
she wants to,
You can
if you
clarify
want to
clarity, yeah.
clarify, please feel
Yeah, if she
free.
could clarify, that would be great.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Clarity? Please
Mhm.
clarify.
And then we have another,
And
yeah, two
we'll
more.
get back to your question.
Mhm.
And then we have Anton. He said, "Hi, Elle. Did you get the sense that space has a consciousness?"
Yes, not only space has a consciousness, but other life forms that we don't expect, like water, has
Oh
consciousness
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Julie had asked, can be free? So can I be free in this lifetime? I'm sorry. So can be free in this lifetime. It's available to us. If so, wow. Okay, so she's asking, can we be free in this lifetime?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. That's why we're constantly seeing things that are talking about us being free mentally, freeing our mind,
Yeah.
So it is possible. And that's what a lot of monks and deep spiritualists
And
actually
shamans,
say.
and yeah.
Right,
And a lot of
shamans.
that freedom, Mel, I think honestly,
Mhm,
from what I've noticed, it's all from going within.
mhm. It is.
Going within and connecting to nature. I
Mhm,
find sometimes I'm the most free when I'm hanging out by my tree.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and then the trick is to carry that freedom in everything you do, which
Yeah.
it's kind of like swimming upstream like a salmon because you're trying to be free, but you're in the matrix. You have to go to work. You have to go, you have
Yeah, you
responsibilities.
play this game, yeah.
Yeah, and you play this game. So that kind of makes it a very, tricky thing to do. But as much as we can, that's what we need to do is to be in that state of freedom. And the only way to try to achieve that is to make sure that daily we're going within, we're meditating, we're connecting with God,
Yeah.
Yah, in order to um, kind of hold on to that.
Okay, clarity.
So Clarity did want to clarify that
Mhm.
it's the original beings. So what did the original beings look like, and were they in human form before being genetically modified by the ETs?
Mm,
Well, there were several different original beings. There
yeah,
were there were angels, there were Nephilim, there were Anunnaki.
yeah.
Um, so there were lots of different beings that had various different looks to them. So we have some of their genetic. We have some of their
Genetic
DNA.
coding and makeup, because
Yeah,
we're a mixture of
right.
so many different.
There's a mixture of so
Yeah.
many different, ones that they're different looks. Maybe one of the reasons why humans have so many different the diversity of how we look is, if you look at other species, most, for example, pigs look similar to each other, octopi, things like that. But we're so diverse in how we look.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. So I want to share with us your books because
Sure.
obviously,
I want to answer this person, Samuel, though.
okay,
Um, uh, in your studies of genetics, do you see any physical evidence of the increasing in DNA strands? For example, two-strand DNA increasing to three or more?
right, because we're
Um,
supposed to hopefully get back to 12. That's what our original state was, 12 strand.
yeah. I don't see any evidence of that right now, but
Mm.
that's not to say that. I mean, epigenetics, our environment causes a lot of changes. So that's not to say that that may eventually happen. Who knows? But it's not showing up right now.
Well, you know what I want to say about that?
Hmm.
I kind of feel that it's going to be this beta generation. So the kids that are like 12 and under are the alpha. They're the
Hmm.
Neptune Pisces babies. I've got 11-year-old twins. Very spiritual, high frequency, they're very, it feels like it's their first time here on earth, the way they're trying to live and enjoy and figure things out.
Hmm.
But the Pluto Aquarius babies, the ones
Hmm.
coming now, and I haven't met any per se yet because I'm not around, infants like that. But
Hmm.
um, I feel that they may start to, once they're tested, they may start to have more strands or
Hmm.
a unique coding or different DNA or different genes. I really feel that these souls that are coming to the earth now are going to be on a whole nother level.
So I'm going to say something controversial.
Go ahead.
Okay. And here's my disclaimer, not, this is a theory of mine.
Okay.
Not every geneticist is gonna, believe this. This is just my own combined intuition with observation. So, during the pandemic, there were lots of things that people ingested, one thing in particular,
Hmm.
and I feel as though there's a possibility, I'm not saying definitely, but there's a possibility that there could have been some changes in the children born under that. I started seeing a lot of people talking about pandemic babies. So, what were the pandemic babies doing to be labeled as pandemic babies? They were incredibly intelligent. They were moving in ways that they shouldn't. They were very advanced.
Yeah.
They were sitting, you know, able to get their bodies stable. And
I saw videos like that. Yeah.
mhm, and some people were saying, "Wow, they're different. They're, just exceptional." But there is a condition that also mimics that. Do you know what that condition is?
No.
Autism.
Yes,
Autism.
autism spectrum. So we don't know for sure, what's going to happen.
Mm.
They could be just naturally evolved kids. But there's a possibility that it could be because of a spectrum as well. But I guess we won't know for a few years. So that being said, what if you have a whole generation of kids that are are presenting differently and are even advanced? So does this mean, theoretically, is this a type of evolution? Or
Or transhumanism.
yeah, or is this a type of, forced, um, change? And then if that's the case, then how does it affect our evolution or ascension
Mm.
into the new age, because now you're dealing with people who feel and resonate and, you know, embrace things and have, can have dimension to how they feel and think. And
Mm.
how will that help our journey? So I don't know, just saying.
No, that is some heavy stuff, and maybe that needs to be book number 3. So tell us about your first 2 books.
Pardon?
I said that could be book number 3, but tell us about your first 2 books.
Oh, I have written a book on my near-death experience.
Okay.
That was a coffee table book called W is for Winter. And I am in the process of writing a couple of other books.
Okay.
I've been a collaborator with some books, but if you go to my website, you'll see
It's
the
in the
things that I,
description, you guys. But you
yeah.
could tell them the website and all the information as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I'll give information for my website and then for Ascension Institute.
Yes.
And I just want to say Ascension Institute is one of the things I felt inspired to do because of my NDE.
Okay.
Ascension Institute is a group of individuals that have their own businesses and callings that we come together as a force to, support different projects that help communities and help humanity in some way. And Eric, you're a part of that,
Yes.
of Ascension.
Yes.
And the website for Ascension is ascendinginstitute.com.
Mm. Ascendinginstitute.com. Okay, you guys. Yeah.
And if you want to reach me, you can either go to URL 1111, the letters URL 1111.com, or you can email me at less than 1% 1111 @gmail.com.
That's right. You gotta take the negative and turn it into a positive, right?
Mhm.
That's oof.
For
Now the
sure.
1111, was that the date or just the 1%? And
No, 1111 is just, I like the number. I would always see 1111,
okay.
and it has a good meaning, spiritual meaning.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. And then so what's the collaboration book? What's the title of that?
Um, that is, if you go to Ascending Institute that's coming, it's called Different Paths to Source. It's a group of individuals that are prominent in the spiritual space, and they have various different belief systems, and they take you on a journey and how to get to source in lots of different ways. So everyone gives their perspective, how
Mm,
to get to God or Yah or source.
wow. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, so now give the audience a little bit more insight on the Ascension Institute and sort of the mission. And you mentioned that people could reach the website, but if they want to become a member and things like that and join.
Mhm. Yeah, if you want to become a member, just go to ascendinginstitute.com, and then you could sign up to be a member. You could, there are different levels. There's the free up to $5. So,
I like that, right? Not trying to break you, spiritual, but that's really awesome. So, okay, so I've got a question because
Mhm,
I think it's fascinating. My audience kind of knows my story, a lot of people, and you've shared some insight to me that made me realize something. And I want to know. So I'll just share that, and I kind of want your perspective on that in terms of just overall understanding of the dimensions and the other realm. So I had the experience of being able to see people in coma, and then I met them in real life and never met them when I was awakened because I went from one hospital to the other.
yeah.
And I would see my wife was like, the first hospital doing 2 a day. She was there all the time. And so what's so funny about that is literally in coma, I thought my wife was working at the hospital, that she got a job there. Also,
Mhm.
she was trying to kill me and she was cheating on me and all this stuff, which was not the case, but this
Mhm.
was in coma. Now,
Mhm.
astrologically, when I fell into coma, if you guys, for the astrology nerds here, because I always got to bring it back, right? That's what the podcast is about too. In the sky, Venus was squaring Pluto.
What does that
So,
mean?
well, what it could mean is it may have affected my subconscious mind because that square was Venus in Libra in my 12th house of the subconscious mind in the hospital.
Mhm.
And Pluto was in Capricorn in my third house in the local community. And this is, particularly from my chart, but that's what they were doing in the sky. And that can create Venus is your love language and relationships, your values and self worth. And Pluto is transformation, death, and rebirth, but it can be power, control, sex, abuse, manipulation, fear, the underworld, Hades, all these dark things. And so it does connect and correlate with why subconsciously or in coma, I was thinking these negative things about my wife, that she was cheating on me with like 2 or 3 different guys, and that she was actually getting abused by them. And she was trying to like plot and kill me with like her different boyfriends. Right. And so, but all of this, that's a sidebar, but all of this that is so connecting to what you shared with me. And I don't know if you remember it, so I'll have to, say it and jar your memory. But seeing hospital staff in coma and then awakening and meeting them in person.
Mhm.
Do you remember what you told me why that was?
I remember that I've met a couple of people that were in my coma that I met, um, in real life, and actually, and one was just recently, and, I was going to tell him, but then I was told not to say anything to that person because it wasn't the appropriate setting to say that to him,
Mm.
to tell him that. But, yeah, no, remind me what I said.
Well, you said that it's because my soul had left my body
Mhm,
and I was literally remote viewing. So because my wife was there 2 a days, I thought she got a job at the hospital.
mhm,
And the fact that I saw the head of the hospital and the respiratory doctor and then one of the nurses, it's because even though I was not consciously awake in coma in this second hospital,
mhm,
because that's where I saw the people. I didn't see anybody from the first hospital. I literally left my body and was like remote viewing and was able to see the actual people in the room.
mhm.
And that is
Wow.
conceptually, Al, that's heavy.
Mhm.
And it's not that I can't fathom it or believe it, because that's the only logical thing that makes sense to me, right? How else could I explain it, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's just so powerful. So, what insights or revelations do you have about that energetically, spiritually, or just like how our souls can do that?
Well, there's one thing I wanted to bring up to you because I was gonna saying that I needed to bring this to your attention because
Mm,
I feel like this is something that you need to study.
okay.
You had said one time that you were going to do readings, or look in people's charts to see if you can see the NDE in
Yes.
their charts.
Yeah. I'm a part of a book that, yeah,
Right.
with my astrologer friend Laura Bruno. But
Mhm.
yes, I'm starting to see the different patterns. Yeah.
Right. So I encourage you to continue that because guess what happened to me recently? I went to, an intuitive
Okay.
person, and believe it or not, and this is probably the Taurus side, maybe the Aquarius side, that whenever people, I always reserve, like, a little bit of skepticism,
Yes.
and I like digest the information. So this, and I don't tell them anything. I just let them tell me. So she started telling me a bunch of things, um, the majority of it was true. But then she all of a sudden grabbed my left hand And she said, "Oh, let me see your palm." And she looked at my palm and she said, "Oh," she didn't know anything about my story. And she said, "Oh, it looks like, oh, you're gonna live a long time, into your 90s. It looks like your extended life. You were supposed to die here, but you're going to live a really long time, and you were extended life." And so I kind of looked at her bug-eyed and I didn't say anything. And then she said, um, I said, "Well, what about the right hand?" And she said, "The right hand is your past, present, and future, and information is recorded there." So after she told me, after a little while, she told me that, and then I told her, what happened to me. After I left, I looked at my right hand, and I could see that on my lifeline, on my right hand, that it's a very prominent lifeline, and right where, in one of similar spots, it fades to almost non-existence, and then it starts back up again and continues. So,
Oh my
that
God.
made me think that in the palm, and
That it had your story already
that it
written.
had my story, and that maybe this was I was destined for this to happen to me.
Well, they say that our souls, we pre-planned this, we chose this.
Right. Mhm.
I've had spiritual readings too
Right.
that I chose this experience for
Mhm.
like an initiation, a leveling up to
Yeah, we
increase my
chose to come
spiritual
back at
gifts.
this
Yeah.
time. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, there's a lot going on right now, and some people might be happy about it, some people might be sad about it, but it's profound to think that we actually chose to be in this lifetime at this particular time when history's changing, and it's good to reflect on why we might have chosen to do that, why our soul that actually is us, not this person
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we're representing right now, but why our soul
Not the
actually.
physical avatar body. No, you're so
Right.
right. And what's
Mhm.
so deep about that, Elle, is that I tell people, if you've made it through, and you're, let's say you're above 25 years old, right? You made it through 9/11. You made it through COVID. You made it through this. You made it through even OGs like us. We made it through HIV/AIDS.
Mhm.
We are, we're here for a reason. There's
Yeah,
a calling,
we're
a
here for a
great
reason.
purpose. And
Mhm.
souls that choose Earth, they say they are the bravest and most courageous souls.
Mhm.
That it's like, what do they say? It's like 3 or 4 souls trying to get into one body or something like
Mhm.
crazy like that. And these are hard concepts for people to fathom. But
Mhm.
when you just stop and you're still,
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, that resonates.
right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I like you said, and I say this to my audience all the time,
Mhm.
please, no days off. And
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up. If you can't
Mhm.
do 30 minutes or an hour, even if
Mhm.
you can do 3 minutes,
Mhm.
do some breathing, do
Yeah,
some mindfulness, be
yeah.
still, go sit by a tree.
Be a tree.
Yeah,
Be a tree.
be a tree and be still,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Be a tree. You said, go on and be a tree, gal. If I know tough time, you just relax and be a tree.
Yeah, that being said, the 2, if people are having a hard time tapping in,
Mhm.
I wanna give you a little,
Oh,
tip, what you can do.
okay.
If you're having trouble tapping in, find something funny and laugh. Find something to laugh at. Laughing is just like an automatic frequency, like, it's like you don't even have to think, you don't even have to try. It just generates all the frequency that you need to tap into spirit and to tap
Absolutely.
into the goodness and the connection of God. So, laugh. That is
I
a
love
great
that.
frequency. And
Because
the
that
other thing.
activates joy and your heart
Right,
chakra,
right,
right?
exactly, activates gratitude, joy, love. Laughing is like it's easy, it's automatic. The other thing is, um, it's important to tap in and to try to meditate every single day because when you do that, you're tapping into who your soul really is. And
Mm,
you have to live your life, this particular reality. You have to live this reality not from the avatar, the person that you decided to come through as, this time you have to live from your soul perspective. And the only way that you can do that is checking in and remembering your soul
Yeah.
on a daily basis. Even if you don't understand your soul,
Yeah.
remember, you know,
Remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
tap into the
I
remembering.
love that. And
Mhm.
that's what I tell everyone. I said, the birth chart
Yeah,
is
somebody said laugh at yourself. That's one of the best
yes,
things to
yes, yes. And we're gonna go back to the chat in a second. Laugh at
do.
yourself, of course. I crack up. Like I'll just
Mhm,
be, and my wife and I laugh all day, and it's so true. It's just mwah, it's so perfect. But
mhm,
what I was gonna say is that I tell people and my clients that the birth chart is the map of your life.
mhm.
It's the remembrance of your soul.
Yeah.
And I am here to reveal it to you, to guide you to
Mm.
remember who you selected to be. The
Mhm,
good, the bad, the ugly, the parents, the
mhm,
abuse, the tragedies, all of it. And I
mhm.
know for some people it's so hard. I've even had seen comments where people are like, "Oh, there's no way I chose my parents and I chose this life." And I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe you're just not ready to receive that, but that's okay."
Mhm,
I'm not trying to, I meet people where they're at, and I know I may say something that can rub someone the wrong way, but maybe they're just not ready to receive it right now, and that's okay.
mhm,
I'm not going to
mhm,
sit there and try to preach
mhm,
because I can conceptually get that, right? I'm like, whoa, I chose like my father being murdered. I chose visual impairment. I chose my mom almost dying, when I was 7. But yes, and now where I'm at, and after all the work that I've done and still need to do, I can see where, yes, not only have I chosen this, but I've accepted my mission and what I've chosen, and I stay in gratitude to my soul for what I've selected in the journey. And I encourage you all to really do that. So let's, Lana, let's get back to the chat and get a couple last final questions before we wind down, because this has been so. And thank you for sharing your truth and your experience, because I know you're experienced at doing it, but I never take it for granted when a human bears their heart and soul and their most vulnerable times. It is extremely important and brave and courageous. So thank you so much for that, Al.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's, especially the person that I am, it was hard to share,
Yeah.
because, I have a science brain, I think,
So you're more
that
private and scientific. You're
yeah,
like, what?
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But, I think that if science and spirituality merged facts and, coordinated a little bit better, our society would be much more advanced.
And guess what?
Mm,
That is what's happening this year with the
yeah.
Pisces North Node and Pluto and Aquarius. It's the
Mhm,
spiritual scientist.
mhm.
That's exactly what you and your daughter are. You're
Yeah,
both having those prominent Aquarius Pisces placements.
right,
'Cause
for,
your daughter's the Pisces with the Aquarius rising, right?
right, exactly,
There
and
you
just
go.
for your audience, my daughter is, an astrophysics and math double major, and, so she's very science and, understands physics, and, sometimes I check my facts with her and things
Yeah.
like that, but she's also very spiritually
And
intuitive.
I'm sending her applications of 2 of my boys so she could be my daughter-in-law. Listen, when you get older and you become a parent, you start to realize, wait, the old folks had it right. I do believe in arranged marriages. I
Oh
don't
my
want my kid picking some old crazy person that they don't even really know because they're like lusting after them. No, 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 no. I think arranged marriages are very smart and beautiful. So go ahead, go to the chat.
So I'm going back a little bit. Jackie Washington had a question. She said, "What's your perspective on challenges in life after your NDE?"
Mm.
And then,
That's a really great question. First of all, I have to say your name, Jackie Washington. The
Yes, that's
only
how I
way you
said
can
it.
say
Thank
that
you.
name
Jackie
is
Washington.
so
That's so funny, Elle, because that's how every time she's been on here, she's a regular now. I have to
Mhm.
say it like that because Jack, and that immediately goes to Coming to America. Jackie Washington. Oh,
Yeah, so the challenges now versus before, I feel as though, I can handle my challenges better now because
mm,
I'm looking at them from a different perspective. I'm also looking at them from a little bit more detached perspective.
Mm,
After my NDE, I really it was very, very lonely actually for a little while
mm,
because I just felt like everyone was going by, putting their energy and effort into stupid things that really didn't matter. Nobody really knew what it was like on the other side and that the other side is permanent. This is temporary, and everyone was focused on the wrong thing. So, I try to channel that whenever I come on a challenge to remember, "Oh, this is not all there is. That's right. Oh, right. This is just an aspect of my soul. This is not my whole soul. This is not fully who I am. This is just a part of it." And
wow.
to remember that and, to um, kind of love myself or nurture myself and be easier on myself in certain
Mm.
challenges.
That is
Yeah.
such
That's a
a
great question.
perfect perspective, and that was a great question, Jackie. Thank you. But I love not just how you said it, but I felt it because that's what I've had to do to process,
Mhm,
to integrate, to breathe, to live, to love.
mhm.
So yeah, thank you. That was beautiful. All right, what else we got?
Um, okay, so I'm gonna skip one question, but definitely come back to it. Amber is making more. She asked a question. She's commenting on autism,
Mm,
and she asked, "Aren't autistic people or autism people way smarter and connected than regular people?" And
yeah,
I would say they have a totally different way of looking at the world, which we are now realizing is so much more expanded. But I'm sorry,
yeah,
you.
yeah,
No, you answered it perfectly.
yeah.
It's kind of like what you learn on the other side. One thing is not necessarily better than the other, it's just a different expression. And one we might consider more evolved because it's bringing through ideas and ways of doing things that we weren't familiar with before. So
Mm,
it seems like it's more evolved, but it's a different expression. And so there are lots of people that are intelligent without autism.
yes.
So, but I appreciate autism because it is, um, just like you said, it's a different wiring, a different way of looking at things, a different perspective.
Mm,
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of ancient and indigenous cultures, they would celebrate when they would have an
Mhm.
autistic child
Yeah,
because they considered it like a gift from the gods, right? And a
yeah.
gift from the heavens. And I also will tell you, Amber, I taught and worked with multiply severely disabled
mm,
children in the Bronx for 10 years.
Mm.
And my children were absolutely amazing.
There's an indigenous tribe, I can't remember which one it is, but their word for autism is something like one who finally sees himself or sees the way that things really are, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd
Yeah.
have to look it up, but
Yeah.
they have a word that specifically means that, about seeing self.
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I have to just
Yeah.
interject something because I've been in a space where I kind of attribute, and I'm having this thought right now as we're talking, so forgive me, but I kind of attribute autism and so many rises of different mental and physical disabilities on the chemicals and the different things. And as we're speaking, I'm going, do you think that maybe we're having more autistic people because we are getting closer to that time of transition
An
and
ascension.
ascension?
Yeah.
And it's in preparation. We know that like these younger generation are coming with these higher um capabilities and different ways of seeing things
Frequency.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I don't know. It just came to me right now, and I'm going, wow, maybe I need to adjust some of my thought process.
Well, and that's a good thought process. That's why I said that, we don't know if this is an evolution. We
Mhm.
don't know if this is something that is, a forced evolution or just an evolution because we are surrounded by things that are activating it,
Yeah.
you
Mm.
know?
Yeah. No.
So,
And
um,
it could be two different strands at the same time, right?
yeah.
Because
Mhm,
we could be being poisoned by the chemicals and the toxins from the fluoride to the glyphosate
mhm,
to the sprays,
mhm,
all the food, the water, everything that could be creating more autism, along with, some injections or whatever.
mhm,
But at the same time, it could be um, a different frequency and energy
mhm.
as well. So I think only time will tell,
Yeah.
but it could be an interesting connection where it could be both at the same time, but
Mhm.
going down two different, you know what I mean, two different lanes. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Well, I put it this way, and, this was for one of my classes. I presented a theory because the assignment had to do with, the evolution of man from prehistoric times and, what might have been going on mentally as far as intelligence, the size of the hippocampus, things like that.
mhm,
So what I theorized is that modern man, which is called Homo sapien sapien,
yeah,
that imagine if you were in prehistoric times and you're Homo sapien sapien, you know of other species that are coexisting called Neanderthals. And as a Homo sapien sapien, you are thinking about, let's say, space and the fact that, the sun is obviously rotating and all of these things that are not familiar with the Neanderthal. Wouldn't they consider you as mentally ill, maybe a little crazy? So, that being said, is some of the things that we call mental illness or disability actually an evolution of consciousness?
yeah.
Because, you know
Yep.
oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. Perfect example.
Mhm,
When they say, especially with the boys, but in general, children cannot sit still in a classroom and want to call them ADHD, it's like, no, they intuitively know I should be, and this is why I believe in bringing back the mystery schools. I should be outside from 12 to 2,
mhm,
playing, learning agriculture, getting the
mhm.
vitamin D from the sun, and I shouldn't be trapped in a prison that we call a school.
Yeah. Well, as though it's maybe some type of, awareness of the body and the awareness of your biorhythms
Yeah,
that maybe you're going against it by what you're doing, and so
yeah.
the body and the energy is fighting to kind of move
It's
around and
not normal for
yeah,
children to be inside
yeah,
all day long from 8 to 3.
yeah,
It is absurd,
yeah,
and it's counterproductive to their nervous system,
mhm,
their genes, their
yeah,
aura, everything. Even learning should be in a cipher, not
right,
a teacher in the head of the classroom dictating,
mhm, and
right?
then we get mad when they're on devices all the time, but we've trained them to be that way.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So there's a lot to reimagine. I think we got another question.
mhm,
Well, I'm going to go back up to
Oh,
my friend Yvette Shinebright.
oh, welcome, Yvette Shine Bright.
Nice to
Make
meet
sure, wait, I
you.
just got to say this out. New people, please come back and like, share, and subscribe. People need to see this episode. So please don't hesitate to tweet it or post it on Facebook
This
or
is
text it to a friend because this is the knowledge, the information that may just spark something to awaken a new soul. So don't hesitate to share it, please. And
absolutely
thank you for
so
coming, you
good.
guys.
And
Yeah.
also come back because he can do your big three on live on a different live.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so she asked a very good question. She
Okay.
said, "Very enjoyable show.
Thank you.
How do we get in touch with Elle?"
Oh, well, she
oh,
shared before, but share again now.
sure. You can email me at the word less than and the number one, and then the word percent, 1111 at gmail.com. and Eric is gonna put it in the post.
Description, yeah, and also the
And,
website's down there, yeah.
my, website is the letter U, the letter R, the letter L, 1111.com. So you can reach me those 2 ways.
I'm gonna
I'm
put
gonna
it.
try and type it real fast.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. Why don't I type?
And I also
Yeah,
wanted to
she'll
say
type it in the
something.
chat.
I also wanted to say something as well, is that
Say it again. URL
Wait,
11.
wait, wait.
Okay.
Less than 1%
At gmail.com.
No,
1111
Oh, 1111, sorry.
at Gmail.
At gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Yeah. While you guys are doing that, I also wanted to say that another important part of collective ascension is doing our self checks and meditations, because this is a hurtful world and a lot of hurt people hurt other people.
Yes.
So it's a good way for us to, make sure that we don't hurt other people um, in various different ways that we may not mean to, or it's just because of our lack of understanding. So there are a lot of people that are bruised and hurt, that are doing things in the world from a place of pain and hurt.
Yeah.
And we can kind of put out the energy to help stop that by manifesting and doing the work that we need to and generating that energy out. And it can also maybe hopefully bring healing to those people who are having a hard time tapping into that. A lot of people doing things from a place of hurt right now and a
Yeah.
place of pain.
It's so true. And it's been, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, the comments are just, people are just really enjoying this conversation, and it is a really powerful and beautiful conversation, and it feels so good. Julie said the energy here is just beautiful. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Julie.
And
Yeah.
Audra is here.
Hey, Audra.
Hey, my
Thank
love.
you.
It's so good to see you.
So, honey, Audra was my last and first client around the NDE.
Oh,
So
wow.
she had booked a birth chart reading with me,
Mhm.
and then I went into the hospital with the COVID. And
Mhm.
silly Eric, I thought I had my wife send my computer to the hospital. I thought I could work on her birth chart while I was in the hospital. I couldn't even see, lift up my hand. I was getting sicker and sicker every day. I got
Mhm.
down to 10% function
Mhm.
in one lung. And
Oh
so,
my
The other one
gosh.
was gone.
yeah, so I really thought that I could.
His organs were completely shutting down. So when I got the
Wow.
call, they told me all his organs are failing. We're
Mhm.
rushing him to the
And death
ICU.
was
We're
imminent.
working on him now. Death is imminent. And
Yeah.
then it was click. And we're talking, that phone call was like
Mhm.
30
seconds.
seconds. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
And
Yeah.
then when I first woke up and came back home,
Mhm.
I was so excited, not only to get back to work, but
Mhm.
to do Audra's birth
But
chart.
Audra
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
particular,
Yeah.
I was
She
like, I
communicated with
was
my wife.
trying to like go back because
Mhm.
I saw her name, and so I was just like, hey, I wanted to let you know he's in the hospital. I'm so sorry. And she was comforting me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was concerned because she had paid money, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, what
Mhm.
am I gonna do?
Mhm.
And she was like, she was paying me, and then she went on to say to Eric, well, I knew you had to live because you had my birth chart to do.
And I was like, I know that's right.
Yeah.
She has this very special place in my
She's
heart.
gonna
and always
always be
will.
special in my life. Yeah.
So just really quick before we go any further, your website, can you say it again? So I'll put it in the chat.
Sure, it's the letter U,
Mhm.
the letter R, the letter L, 1111.com.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
There we go.
There you
Okay,
go.
that was easy. And
Got another question.
not so much a
Okay.
question, but Yogini Star. Hi,
Hey, Yogini Star.
I love that name.
Yeah, it's a great
Anyways,
name.
she asked, has anybody listened to telepathy tapes?
I have not yet, but I want to. It is
Oh,
on my list. I'm
And
definitely gonna be listening.
I
where
have,
can we find it at, though?
oh,
Telepathy tapes?
I don't know how to do the
Um,
search or whatever. We need to ask her about where we can find her stuff more
Yeah.
and more. So, but we'll look it up. We'll figure it out.
yeah.
No, I was just curious if she knew or.
But from the little that I've heard of telepathy tapes, it's definitely like the NDE, things you learn in the NDE experience. And that's why I say people don't need to have an NDE in order to be reset, enlightened,
Oh,
or
no, no, not
anything.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's basically just it's just it's just an experience that, people can have while you're, without an NDE. You can do all of this just by being consistent and having a life transformative experience.
Oh, yeah. And
Mhm,
people can have a lot of, you have a Kundalini, spiritual awakenings, all these different things. And I think, well, I don't think I know, and this is
mhm,
was something that I had predicted months ago, but I was saying to people, because one thing I don't like in the spiritual community,
mhm,
sometimes I see where people get very arrogant, like there's rules. And it's like, this is why people have left organized religion. It's not
mhm,
about that.
mhm.
It's not my place to say here on Earth School, I'm in 11th or 12th grade and you're in first
Right,
grade and I'm
right,
better than you.
exactly.
No, that's
There's no
silly.
hierarchy.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy, you
Yeah,
guys. You have got to do what you feel is right and do. I
yeah.
will tell you what I do
Mhm,
and what works for me
mhm.
and makes me feel better. But
Yeah,
for me, I may like grounding and earthing in nature with trees and toning and a sound bowl. And the next person may like hiking, swimming in the water,
yeah.
and extreme yoga and Bikram yoga and breath work.
And we're all different
Yeah,
frequencies.
and
Not
there's
everything
no
is
and
Yeah, not
none of
everything
that is
is
wrong.
the same for everybody. Everyone's
Yeah,
different. We're all on a journey.
exactly. So I just want everyone in the chat to know that.
Mm,
But I will encourage you to try something.
mhm.
Please try something. To exist and deal with these times, you have got to go within. You
Yeah,
have got to be in those four high
you
frequencies
have
of
to.
gratitude, joy, love, and authenticity, right?
The
You're
earth
one of
needs you.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, the earth needs you right now. So this is not just for this is you putting on your oxygen mask so that you could put on the oxygen mask of other people.
Mm,
So,
I love that.
when I talked about this and started sharing about this in 2022 and was telling people, you know, you're going to need to um, get into a routine. You're going to need to do things because there are things coming.
Yeah.
We're out of time. You're in the time where
Yeah.
things are happening
How
now.
how did people receive that though? Because right, 22 is already after
Mhm.
the pandemic, so they're like
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, something already just happened now.
Right. Yeah.
But you were like, no, there's more coming.
Yeah. I think people were pretty receptive.
Yeah.
They expressed it. A lot of this was before all of the people were seeing all of those UFOs,
Yeah.
and it was before. Let's see what else has happened since. A lot of different things have happened, and which made it that kind of validated that everything was going to be very strange and different.
Oh yeah.
And there's more to come. I would say it's going to be about another 3 years um, of lots of rapid stuff before there's a little bit of settling down. So,
Do you know what's so funny about that,
what?
Mr. Eric Taylor, I wrote a play
Mhm,
in 97, around 98.
mhm,
And I got it produced in 2005.
mhm,
And the play is called The First Supper.
mhm,
And it's a lighthearted spiritual sci fi that takes place in 2027.
mhm.
6 men and 6 women find themselves in a position where they have to start the world all over again.
Oh, wow.
And the play begins as they awaken
Mhm,
in a home and
mhm,
they cannot go outside because there's a black hailstorm going on.
mhm.
And as they awaken, they don't know how they got there. They don't know each other. And they awaken and then everything begins. Now 2027,
Mhm.
right, is the human design prophecy.
Okay.
Something that I, would like to, probably pitch to HBO and stuff. But
But you had
Mhm.
them where in what
but
state?
but also I wrote this in New York in the 90s, right?
Mhm.
Not only were they trapped in a home with the black hailstorm going on,
Mhm.
they were trapped in a home, and that was in Arizona.
Mm.
That's where I live now.
Wow.
And he had
And
never been there
and
really
I'd been there one time,
Mhm.
but it was just, in college, and but
Mhm.
never thought I'd ever live in Arizona. I'm a New Yorker, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
yeah.
so, but on top of it, in the house, they find an ID and a wallet. I don't want to get into everything, but
Mhm.
and the only book that they really find in there, they have
Mhm.
all these tools, all these things that they need, but the only thing that they find in there is the Holy Bible.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, it was deep. It was
Mhm.
deep. See,
Mhm.
I tell people I've been deep, and I've been, but there's always time and stuff. So, Elle, I want to thank you so much. Last question or comment?
Yeah, no, Pauline Bracocious
Oh,
says something. And I know we've run a bit long. Thank you for being in here with us, Al. Pauline Bracocious, she said, she's been really enjoying her healing sessions. It's been so fulfilling for me. I think I found my calling, and I'm calling that comment out in particular because I think so many of us are having our different skills and abilities brought online, and we're going to be
yeah,
seeing a lot more people who are going to be drawn to conversations like this, um, into their more intuitive, psychic, healing, whatever you want to call it. And I think we're going to see people doing things like the way that Jesus talked about in the Bible, when
Mhm.
they are even in Acts, when they were talking about the disciples were able to work miracles and do
Mhm.
all these things.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
believe that is going to be coming back into play.
Mhm.
yeah,
So that's
Yeah.
all. But
yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's these are wild times, you guys, and
Mhm.
it's a great time to be alive. This is what your soul chose, so that lets you know there's no fear.
Mhm.
Faith over fear, and we got this. But please set that intention, like Elle was saying. A daily practice is super important. So,
Mhm.
Elle, as we get ready to wrap up, do you have a closing message for the collective of inspiration? And the floor is yours, my friend.
I don't think I have much more to say other than for everyone to remember just how amazing and how beautiful and how powerful they are.
Yeah,
And remember that it's not just spiritually, but physically as well. You are a multidimensional being, and try to remember that every time you wake up in the morning and every time you go out.
I love that.
that's
I really love that. Elle, you're amazing, and this was so much fun. And I thank you for giving me some insight and clarity.
Mhm.
Like I really mean what I said earlier on. I did not know anything about NDEs. I just lived one,
Mhm.
survived one, and
They're hard to process.
it is,
Mhm.
it is, and even going in, it's been 3 years, and this September will be my fourth year, and I'm
Yeah.
still remembering and integrating, and
Yeah.
and I thank you because you definitely helped turn on some lights for me,
Mhm.
and that's really greatly appreciated. But it's also just so powerful, So keep sharing your knowledge, your gifts, and your insights, and keep shining your light because the world needs it. So I want to
Thank
thank,
you.
and this
And
is
one of your guests said, Pauline said, meditate. That's one of the people take it for granted,
oh, it's so
just these
helpful.
little things that you could do. Like
Yeah.
it's super important. Mhm.
Yeah, no. And
Mhm.
Pauline, I hope I see you back at Coffee Talk. We got February 16th to the 23rd. I miss you, lady. So, you guys, thank you so much. I'll be back on Thursday night. So, please come back again, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Nick Westbrooks. He's a brilliant numerologist. We're going to get you all ready for the Super Bowl. He's going to do live readings and learn about this gentleman. And, Al, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it was a pleasure, my friend. It was a pleasure. All right, you guys. This has been episode 296.
Hmm.
That's a number. That's a number. And this was so much fun. So thank you again, my friend. All right. Bye, everybody. And like, share, and subscribe, and come back and comment. please, it helps it grow in the algorithm. So please return, come back. And if you want to, go to my website and sign up for the newsletter, BigEAstrology.com. I just sent out a new newsletter today. But please, join the family. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Good night.